I used to think my biggest problem was choosing the right curtains for our living room. My life was that simple, that perfect. I lived in a beautiful suburb in Virginia with David, a man who looked like he stepped out of a Ralph Lauren ad. We had been married for 3 years, and our relationship was the envy of our friend group. He was the guy who remembered anniversaries, the guy who held my hand in public, and the guy who absolutely adored my family, or so I thought. You see, in America, we have this obsession with the perfect family. We want the husband who loves the in-laws. But what happens when that love isn't respectful? What happens when that love is a fixation? My mother, Elena, is a force of nature. Even at 52, she has this magnetic pull. When we were kids, my friends didn't come over to see me. They came over to see her. She's charming, she's beautiful, and she knows it. I spent my whole life being Elena's daughter. I thought marrying David was my chance to finally be David's wife. I didn't realize I was just providing him a front row seat to the woman he actually wanted. The signs were small, like dust gathering on a shelf. You don't notice it until it's thick enough to write your name in. It started with the Mother's Day gift. David spent weeks researching a vintage necklace for Elena. For me, on our anniversary a month later, a gift card to a spa. At first, I told myself he was just being a good son-in-law. I was proud of him. But then the comments started. We'd be lying in bed and he'd say, "Your mom has so much energy for her age, doesn't she? I hope you stay that vibrant when you're older." It sounded like a compliment, but it felt like a warning, like I was a ticking clock and she was the gold standard I had to meet. He started insisting we visit her every single weekend. If I wanted a quiet night in, he'd get moody. "Your mom is alone, Sarah. We should be there." But she wasn't alone. She had a social life better than ours. He just needed to be in her orbit. He needed to breathe the same air she did. The day the mask fell off was a bright Sunday in June. We were in my mother's backyard for a barbecue. The sun was hitting the pool, and my mother was wearing a white linen wrap. She was laughing at something David said, leaning in close to show him something on her phone. I was standing by the grill, about 10 feet away. I looked over at them, and for the first time, I didn't see my husband and my mother. I saw a hunter and his prize. David wasn't looking at her face. He was looking at her with a raw, primal hunger that he had never, not once, shown me. It was a look of pure possession. When she turned away to grab a drink, his eyes followed the curve of her back with a physical intensity that made me sick. In that moment, I realized he didn't marry me because he loved me. He married me because I was the closest thing he could get to her. I was the consolation prize. I was the legal way for him to stay in her life forever. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I waited for David to fall asleep, and I took his laptop to the guest room. I felt like a criminal, but the knot in my stomach wouldn't let me rest. I checked the usual places, emails, texts, nothing. But then I found a folder buried deep in a system drive labeled Work Project Backup. Inside weren't spreadsheets. They were photos, hundreds of them. Not photos he'd taken of us, but photos of her. Candid shots from family dinners, pictures of her gardening through the window, even zoomed-in photos of her shoes by the door. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the laptop. It wasn't just an attraction, it was a shrine. He was documenting her life like a stalker under our own roof. I realized then that my marriage was a lie, a 3-year-long performance designed to keep him close to his obsession. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I felt a cold, hard clarity wash over me. The next morning, I packed a bag and left the laptop open on that folder. When he woke up and saw me standing there, he tried to gaslight me. "Sarah, you're overreacting. She's your mother, Sarah. I'm just appreciative of our family." But I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You don't look at a family member like they're a meal, David, and you don't take secret photos of your mother-in-law unless you're sick." I called my mother. I wanted to hear her voice to see if she knew. Her reaction was the final blow. She wasn't shocked. She was flattered. "Oh, honey," she said, "men have always been like that with me. It doesn't mean anything." In that second, I lost both of them. I realized my mother loved the attention more than she loved my peace of mind. I moved across the country 3 months later. I blocked them both. People ask me why I didn't try to save my marriage, but how do you save something that was never yours to begin with? I wasn't his wife. I was his ticket to the show. For a long time, I felt like I wasn't enough, like I was a lesser version of my mother. But I've learned that being enough for the wrong person is actually a curse. I don't want to be someone's second choice or their backup DNA. I'm building a life now where the only person I'm compared to is the woman I was yesterday, and she's doing just fine. If you're watching this and you feel like you're competing with a ghost or a shadow in your own home, stop. You deserve to be the sun, not the moon reflecting someone else's light.